Christy Arnett here, and I'm with Michael Banducci. He is the bracelet winner of the $1,000 No Limit Hold'em rebuy. Mike, thanks for coming by.
Thanks for having me.
You said you just got paid. Is that exciting? You went to the cage and...
Yeah, it was an awesome feeling, just watching them count all the money out and stuff, and it was really cool.
Do they pay in cash?
Part of it, but most of it was taken care of, wire transfers and stuff, but...
Cool.
A little bit of cash.
Yeah, definitely. So first of all, rebuys. What kind of experience do you have in rebuy tournaments?
Well, I've played a lot of them, online for the past couple of years, the 100 rebuy and the 200 rebuy on Sundays and stuff. But the past year I really haven't been playing much in the way of tournaments. But in the past, I've had a lot of experience in the past, and rebuys are great. They just give you a chance to get a lot of chips early, which is, the hardest, part about these tournaments is, finding a way to get that double up and get a bunch of chips. Well, this, with a deep enough pocket, you can really, force yourself to get some chips. So,
as compared to freeze-outs, which do you like better?
I like rebuys a lot more, just for that reason. I mean, anyone can have a whole bunch of chips at the end of the first 2 hours. And even for the bare minimum, you can get 8,000 without winning a pot, really. So then you're starting off at 100, 200 with 40 big blinds, which is relatively deep. It's a lot better than starting out with 3,000 and making it to that point and still having 3 or 4.
So what's your strategy? Do you have a crazier, aggressive strategy, or do you play tight?
I really mix it up a lot, but in the rebuy period, I actually did something different, which I've never done, but I min-raised every single hand for like 40 in a row. And what I was basically just trying to do was build small pots and get a feel for the way people were going to react, and then use like post-flop play to just outplay them and try to win a lot of pots. And I was able to, for the minimum amount of rebuys, I rebought before the first hand. And just by implementing that strategy, I turned the 4,000 into about 16,000 at the end of the rebuy period. Never gotten any big pots, but a ton of small pots, and I was, but literally just min-raising every hand, keeping it, just trying to get a feel for how people were going to play and stuff.
So the players reacted pretty passively?
Yeah, they did. They were I never got re-raised, and I did one time real small, and I called with Jack 10, the guy had kings, and I flopped a pair and turned a pair, and so I mean, it ran good, but playing that small ball strategy really allowed me to get a feel for the players and really pick up some chips in the first couple hours.
So you didn't have any big name pros at your first rebuy table?
I did. I had Freddie Deeb and John Pham, and they both were kind of just real passive with it. And
that's not usual for John the Razor Pham, right?
Yeah, you wouldn't think so, but he was never re-raising or anything like that, and he kind of was just sitting back. And the feeling I got from him is that he didn't want to go deep with many rebuys, so he was just kind of playing tight. And Freddie was gambling a little bit more, but that was mostly post-flop stuff too. So.
How much did you say you committed for the event?
4,000 total. I rebought before the one, rebought, and then the double add-on at the end of the 2 hours.
I remember Daniel Negreanu said that he committed like $42,000.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And then his table broke. How awful is
that?
Well,
that was the first question I had when I walked in. I found a floor man and said, "What's a breaking order? I want to know how long I'm going to be here."
Oh, okay.
Because it changes, everything. If your table's going to break, there's no point even trying to go nuts. But that was a big reason I was doing the min-raise thing, was just to try to. I was trying to get an image where they were going to look at me and be like, this guy's crazy, he's in every pot, blah, blah. Well, after the 2 hours, I tightened up and, just played normal poker until our table got broke. So, but I think it allowed me, after the rebuy period, to get a lot of action on some hands.
Were there a lot of players who didn't keep rebuying and just said that they were done before the rebuy period was over?
Yeah, it happened, I think, 2 guys at our table. They were in. One guy was in for the bare minimum, $1,000, gave it a shot, and he lost and walked away.
Because one of the most significant things I've heard from an online player who plays rebuys is that they're one of the best tournaments because you are never out, and after the rebuy period, you've already beaten like a third of the field or something. Yeah,
a lot of people drop out, which is, in terms of like a sound strategy, it's not very good. But people do have their own limitations and stuff. But yeah, it's great that at the end of the rebuy period, a whole bunch of the money's already dead. It's gone, and you can't ever be out at that point. It's great.
So going into the final table, you're a chip leader.
Yep.
Were you pretty confident that you could take the bracelet?
Yeah, I mean, I truthfully expected nothing less. I would have been really upset if I didn't. I was really lucky with the seat I drew too. I had all the chips on my right, so I was able to act after everyone with a bunch of chips. The only one who I was a little concerned about was Jeff, the kid who ended up taking second. Him and Lyric, who was to my right, who were the two that I thought were the best two players. And having Lyric on my right was great because it allowed me to act after him every time. Jeff on my left didn't start out with too many chips, but then he started accumulating, and I was like sitting there. I'm like, all right, we got to get somehow someone's got to get some chips off him because having him on my left with a bunch of chips could have been a real nightmare. Luckily, lost a few pots, but we get down to three-handed, and he just wouldn't lose. Him and the other guy were going back and forth. I was kind of just sitting there watching it, but yeah, I mean, it's coming in. It's you kind of have to expect yourself to win, especially with such a demanding chip lead. So. Did
you ever relinquish your chip lead and get low before getting?
Yeah, my plan coming in was to play kind of tight at the beginning, and not do anything stupid. Well, I bluffed off about 1 million chips, came with 1.6 million, and bluffed my way all the way down to 600,000. And I think we were six-handed, and I was a short stack.
Oh wow!
And I just sat back, and I actually closed my eyes and counted 10, and said, after this, that's over. I'm gonna fight back, and went from there, and I was able to win a pot right away. And start climbing back up.
Yeah, that's important because especially it's hard when you sort of lose momentum, because if you feel like you have a big chip stack and then you take a big hit, it's harder than if you were short stacked and kind of building up, because then you feel like you're going forward.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I felt real discouraged. I tried a couple of bluffs, both got picked off, and it just. I decided I was done bluffing, because I was, it was never going to work, especially after showing down the hands I showed down. And just played kind of tight and waited for some hands. And luckily I had, Jeff kept re-raising me. And I had ace-king like 2 or 3 times when he did, and got to move in on him. And, win some big pots pre-flop without any showdown, no risk, which was real nice.
When you play deep stacks, is there more emphasis on play pre-flop? Or do you try and play more on the flop since you have big stacks?
I prefer to play post-flop a lot. A lot of players are really uncomfortable with being so deep, so what they do is they try to inflate everything pre-flop and try to build these big pots pre-flop where they're a lot more comfortable. Most of my experience in the past years come from cash games where you're used to being at least 100 big blinds deep, and that's where I started the day, was 100 big blinds deep. But the post-flop thing to me is, that's where most of the skill comes in. That's where a lot of people are at a big disadvantage. So I was trying to keep things small. I did a lot of min-raising and limping and some weird stuff like that. But the reason was just to play post-flop and allow them to make mistakes and give me some chips in a spot where they're just uncomfortable and they don't know what to do.
Okay. So like you said, you got heads up with Jeff Williams. He said, I spoke with him earlier, and he said he was kind of familiar with your play online. How was he as a heads-up opponent?
He's tough. I mean, He played a good strategy. He was min-raising the button, trying to keep me into pots when I was out of position. It works. I kept having hands that I can't really fold for just a min-raise. And he was playing good aggressive poker post-flop, and he doubled up without doubling up. I mean, he doubled his stack just through winning a lot of small pots. I couldn't flop a pair for the first 12 hands or something like that. When I finally did make a pair, he had a bigger one. It was the first I don't know how many hands until the winning one were all pretty bad. I mean, I may have only won 2 or 3 hands heads up. One of them I re-raised him pre-flop with queens, and he folded, and then the ace-jack where I re-raised him and he moved in.
Was that when he had ace-5? That was the last hand?
That was the last hand, yeah.
After the pots were so small, why did that one get so big, do you think?
Well, it was like we'd kind of been talking about, maybe, like, we didn't actually even know the rules if you're allowed to do it, but we were going to see if we could stop the tournament clock and talk about chopping the prize pool up and playing for the bracelet and some extra money, but kind of evening it out, because so we're not playing heads up for 250,000. Right. And he had said to me the hand before, he goes, do you want to pause the clock? He goes, we're about even now. Do you want to pause the clock and talk about it? And I said, I said, how many chips do we have? And I looked at about 3.6, and he had 2.6. I said, if we get within 2.9 in that range, we can pause and talk about it. And so when he raised the button, and I looked down at ace-jack, I had to make a decision. I knew if I re-raised, he was going to probably move in, because
you just,
exactly, for that reason. If I make it 400,000, if he moves in, and I fold, now we're dead even, we can stop, we can talk about a deal. So my decision was, do I re-raise and get it all in? I mean, basically, when I made it 400,000, in my mind I was all in. Or do I call and play a post-flop? So I decided, ace-jack's pretty good. Jeff's crazy and very, very good, but very, he's capable of anything. And I knew that, if I could probably get him to push with, a lot of things. And he sent it with ace-5. And, I said, I don't love it, but I said to him, I told myself I re-raised and you shoved I was going to call, so I call.
Right.
Good luck.
You didn't have to sweat much.
No,
Jack right on the flop.
The jack on the flop was nice.
Yeah. Cool. So you celebrated last night.
Yeah, we did.
And you're going to celebrate tonight too?
Yep. I have a friend who took second last night in the tournament, so we're all going to go out and celebrate the 2 awesome scores.
Cool. So you're going to play a lot more events for the rest of the series too?
Yeah, I'm probably going to play every day starting, I guess, on Monday, because tomorrow's a ladies' event. But I'm going to play as much as I can.
You don't want to play the ladies' event with me? Come on. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I think I'm going to play as much as I can. So I'm here, the entire month, and I'll probably be here every day.
All right, great. Well, thank you so much. Hopefully
Thanks.
we can interview you again.
I hope so too.
I'm Christina with the winner of the 1K Rebuy No Limit Hold'em event, Mike Banducci for Card Player TV.